And welcome back. Now, of course, technology has certainly been the key focus here at the Big Five Digital Festival, and we've heard so many innovative and creative applications indeed from around the world. So we're going to continue, of course, with our focus on technology at the moment. And I really want to thank our Digital and Smart Series sponsor to Autodesk for sponsoring this session, indeed for sponsoring the series. So thank you so much for being with us. But looking at technology, we're now going to look at remodeling, construction, and infrastructure industry. So really getting into in-depth conversation about this. And we're hearing from so many different companies, so many different people, so many different applications. So this, again, will add tremendous value to all of the great work that you're doing out there as you look ahead to the digital and indeed the highly technological future that is this construction industry. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Marie-Luce Godinot, the Executive Vice President, Digital Transformation, IT, Innovation and Sustainable Development from Bouygues Construction. So delighted to have Marie-Luce here. Also, Keith Churchill joins us, the Corporate Manager for Construction Technology with Bechtel Corporation. From Lang O'Rourke, the Innovation Lead, Yewande Akinola is with us. So I'm looking forward to hearing more input from Yewande, and also from Dar Al Handassa. We're welcoming the Head of Digital Transformation and Innovation, and that is Dr. Jacques Khoury. So a great panel here, in-depth discussion about to take place here, and I'm delighted to welcome our moderator for this session. He's the Director and the Head of Digital Delivery for JLL, and that is Prakash Senghani. So I'm going to hand over now to Prakash, and we're looking forward to this panel. Thank you so much, Prakash.
Thank you so much, Edna. Welcome and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining from, for this, what's going to be a very thought-provoking and interesting discussion. So in terms of realizing some of the opportunities and remodeling construction and infrastructure through technology, I think this is a trend that's been going on probably for my entire career, so over a decade. And most recently, we've been seeing an acceleration of this trend. And me and my fellow panelists are going to cover three main subjects: new methods of working and opportunities that those bring, using the technology revolution to innovate, collaborate, and change the existing work processes, and shaping a new competitive advantage. I guess there's been numerous reports, and some of them now are being revamped about the reasons behind why we as an industry need to continue to push with technology and continue to innovate. Most of them are around improvements in productivity, safety, quality, and generally adding value to what we do. And through this discussion, I really want to concentrate on what's coming up and what the future looks like. I know 2020 has been a particularly difficult year for everybody, and I would really like to concentrate not on what's happened and what's gone before, but what we're going to be doing coming forward and looking forward to what 2021 and beyond holds. So without further ado, I'm going to start with our first question, and that's going to go to Yewande. In terms of new methods of working, I think that there's these terms around modern methods of construction or modern construction techniques. Can you tell us your thoughts and what you've seen around how these are impacting the way that we're currently building and delivering infrastructure?
Thank you very much, Prakash. You know, just as you were saying, in so many ways, right, 2020 has been our chief innovation officer, right? Because it's really pushed us to think, you know, outside of the box in some certain instances, and it's pushed us to accelerate on some of the incredible work that was happening already. And, you know, when I look back at the start of the year and I look at what we've achieved now, and actually when I look at the ambition for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, I'm very excited about, you know, what is to come. Modern methods of construction is something that's been around for definitely, you know, for as long as, you know, both of us have been in engineering, you know, for the last 10 years, and seeing it come into itself, you know, seeing organizations having to take the traffic away from construction sites, taking the traffic and working in controlled spaces like factories, really, expanding the role of that digital twin. Because all of a sudden, the digital twin has just become a big, massive business asset. To be able to say, right, we've built it digitally, how can we ensure that we are taking parts of the building as we know it already in its real form to the construction site, therefore taking away some of the construction processes away from sites. I work for a company, Langerock, who have invested a lot in modern methods of construction. So we've got incredible factories in different parts of the UK where we build mechanical modules. So, you've got your ductwork, you've got your electrical cabling, you've got your water pipes, we've got precast solutions as well, and this year has been a real testament to all of that incredible work. And, I just expect it to be more evident in the residential projects and the mixed use projects, as well as in the schools / education projects over the next few years.
Yeah, I completely agree. These are definitely some of the trends that we're seeing in many parts of the world. Keith, if I come to you next, so Yewande talked about some modern methods of construction being things like digitizing and building in a digital environment, and then modularizing or prefabricating some of these in a factory environment. Are you seeing other things that can be classed under this modern methods of construction? And what are those things?
Yes, absolutely, I can. I think that what Yewande discussed was really important. I think that the decentralization of the job site is something that COVID has allowed us to do, not just from a fabrication perspective, but in all aspects of our work. So can we plan away from the projects? Can we gauge our progress away from our projects? Can we take a look at doing quality inspections and other tasks like that maybe don't require a person to actually physically go to the site to see what's been installed, to make sure that it's installed correctly, and to be able to deliver to our clients? Can we reduce costs to our companies, and reduce the price to our clients by reducing the amount of travel, by reducing the amount of suppliers that have to come in, and really leaning out that process by leveraging technology? And I think that if COVID has taught us anything, it's that we have the ability to do that. We just need to make that leap. And I think that people are starting to make that leap, and we needed a jump start, and we've got that jump start. And now it's just about building off of that and taking it to the next level, and making sure that we're tracking those real KPIs that show the value back to not only our company, but to the industry itself.
No, excellent, and definitely, that again, seeing all of these sort of trends, and that now, rather than people talking about them, we're definitely seeing them manifest on the projects that we're all interacting with and working with. Dr. Jacques, if I come to you, we've now spoken about, I guess, technology from the delivery side on how we deliver projects. I guess you and the organization you work with come from a different perspective in terms of how do we design and manage those things. So can you talk to us about some of the trends and innovations that we're seeing from that perspective?
Hello, everyone. So I join Yewande and Kate that the COVID had taught us a lot, and this is the fastest digital transformation manager, I would call it like this, that we have lived and faced 2020, and it will proceed 2021. So if we go to the core problem of what we're living in terms of design and consultancy towards delivering the project on construction for construction phase, we look at the way that we were working is that we were mostly using the as-built, so relying on them, relying on the CADs, relying on all these maps that were existing, which were not accurate, that changed during the time, that we needed to update them. For updating them, we needed to send an army on site to make sure that these changes has been reflected using the latest technology. Maybe it can be, at that time, could be something simple as laser tags or things like that. So with the arrival of COVID and with the way that we were thriving before even COVID towards internally in the company and in the GCC market, is to use the latest technology carefully but fully. So we started using like sort of scanner lasers. We used 360 cameras. We used stereo cameras. All these kind of tools, when manipulated correctly and fully, we are able to save tremendous amount of time. We are able to increase the accuracy of the information we're getting that, and of course doing that in the terms of budget wise and in terms of timing, and deliver on time. So once we have all this information, we needed to communicate between the different offices, between the different teams that we have them spread across the world. So we were trying to innovate in the way we also exchange the information. So by using different kind of platforms that we have on the recently deployed successfully for file management, for changing the tracking the changes, and to simulate in 4D, 4-dimension, and to see how this digital twin will evolve with time. What are the changes? What are we expecting to see? What are we expecting to share with the contractor so that they can anticipate any problems that may occur on site? They can run any scenario of what if this happened, what if scenario, and try to make the best of this of these workflows. And it is working. And this is why I'm saying more and more technology will have to be adapted, but we have to be very careful on that, because it can backfire on us. So we have to implement it. The culture has to be ready. The infrastructure has to be ready. The technology, the budget has to be optimized. So this is the way we're going with that. And this is very important for the delivery, because as you know, 80% I would call for the projects are overachieving the budget, over budgeting I would call it. They're passing it by a lot. Very few are reaching on time. So I think it's an opportunity for everyone to use this to optimize it, and to once for all start having this construction industry as per the other industries on the market in terms of aeronautic or defense sector, which are on the top ICT and technology wise.
Yeah, no, excellent points there. And you touched on some of the risks. I think later on in our conversation, we'll talk about some of the risks that we're likely to face as we digitize. And finally, and I guess not least, Marie-Luce, in terms of now we've talked about delivering these assets. Could you talk to us about how we can utilize technology to ensure that what we build sits well within its urban environment? I know this is a topic that you're very passionate about.
Yes, thank you very much. Because in fact, I think digital technology are very useful, as you said before, very useful for different things. But what we are facing now is that the people in cities have difficulties to put up with sites, because sites are because with sites you have some disturbances like noise, pollution, trucks, and so on, and it's very difficult for people in urban environment to put up with that. And I think that what you said was really right, but I think that technologies and offsite construction can also offer something more for people in urban environments, because with technology you have less noise, less pollution, and with technology you can also monitor the disturbances you are making or doing for your environment. And for example, in Bouygues Construction, we have a specific startup we are working with who monitor the noise, for example, within the area, and the people who are living in the area can signal that they are facing a disturbance. And it's very important to have these relationships with the environments. And I think that with technology, you can have a better process, you can improve productivity and so on, but you can also improve the way the sites are in the environment. And I think that is also very important.
I completely agree. And this kind of leads on to our second topic about how we can use the tech revolution, or the technological revolution that we're seeing within construction to help innovate and collaborate and change processes. So let's us, if we keep with the same theme in terms of utilizing and monitoring information that we're capturing once we've delivered assets. What can we do with this information? What type of things are you seeing happening with these new data streams, if you like, that are coming in? It's all well and good putting sensors in place and having all of this data collected and sitting in databases. But if we're not doing anything with this information, it's a big cost for no reason. So I guess if I go to you, Keith, what types of things are you seeing happening with some of these data streams and perhaps ones that didn't exist before?
Yeah, I think that question is a twofold question. I think that from a construction perspective, we're installing sensors on our projects. We're starting to get readings. We're starting to understand the impact that we're making to the environment. We're starting to understand the impact that we're making to the people around us. So I think that helping us to drive some sustainability goals from a construction perspective, lower our carbon footprint for everything that we're doing, I think that enables us to really understand and push ourselves to take that next step to improve the environment in which we're working. Secondly, it was mentioned before, the digital twin. I think that, asset management has been around for a long time, but the digital twin isn't just the asset management. You can go in and understand how you're impacting the traffic zones around you, how you're impacting other buildings, how your building is performing in terms of what you're monitoring, whether it's mechanical, electrical, or whatever. And so, I think that there's simulations that can be done if you want to experience a change later on and really, take debottlenecking and everything to the next level. And so leveraging that data in terms of cloud computing, machine learning and other types of these emerging technologies is really going to drive us to gather more data so that we can understand how things are related that we may not have been able to conjoin before.
No, 100%. And I guess what you're inferring and referring to there is like that digital twins aren't just to the confines of the operation and maintenance phase. We are now seeing the emergence of digital twins during construction, where we're now getting a much more connected site. We're getting again more data streams and data sets being produced. Yewande, if I come back to you, from that perspective, how does this tie in with what we were speaking about before in terms of helping you shape the modern methods of construction and utilizing some of these data streams?
So this is a really, really exciting area for me because I'm all about the innovation piece, right? I'm all about, the construction industry emerging as this innovative industry, which I guess if we're really honest with ourselves, they're not two words that you kind of associate with each other, construction and innovation. And what we are actually, what my hope is and the trends I'm starting to see is that connection between design consultancy, construction, and the eventual product that the client gets, right? So we are kind of waking up to this, understanding that we have to align ourselves to the sustainable objectives that the design consultancy world is putting before us, right? We're understanding that the buildings that we deliver to our clients have to operate in a manner that really reflects how the building is being used, right? To then further, contribute to the idea of improving our sustainable solutions. So that's a very exciting space for me, really seeing the loop. So the data that's coming from, how we build the projects, how the projects are operated, how energy is consumed on the projects or in the buildings, all of the embodied carbon, for example, and seeing a complete story being told. I guess the other part, right, that I think is quite interesting, which really forms part of the process of innovating, is ideas management and coming up with great ideas throughout the project. We're now saying, what is the infrastructure? In our case, digital software, for example, what is that infrastructure we need to have in place to be able to capture all these great ideas throughout the construction process, right? To be able to say, hey guys, you've come up with a great idea, we've captured it, we can then deploy it to a different project, improve on it, and really get that cost saving, to ourselves as a construction industry, as well as the client. So there are many folds of it, but it's just extremely exciting.
And I think that's a very great point that you brought up, Yewande, in terms of it's not just data that we're getting from sensors and from IoT devices or pieces of equipment. It's data that we're getting from people, right? And we often forget that, right? When we think about data, we always think digital, right? We think, but people are a huge source of data, and like you rightly said, having a way of capturing this data and then analyzing it, doing something with it to help you going forward, I think is a huge opportunity. Marie-Luce, do you want to chime in here?
Yes, I think I had the impression that in the past years, it was very difficult for a construction industry to innovate on this part, because it's a very decentralized organization. Each project is different, and you always, it's an industry where you are project oriented. And I think that digitalization can help through the process, as you said before, but it can also help to capitalize, because before it was very difficult to capitalize, because all the knowledge was inside the head of people. And I think that at the beginning, the digital twin were only for what we were building. It was, what is the building? But now it's exciting, because it's not only what we are building, but the way we are working. And that is very important. Now we can capitalize on methods, on what works, because it's very difficult to put an idea, as you said, Yewande. It's very difficult to put something which was done on a site to another site, and with digital platform, and not only digital twin, I think, but with digital platform, you can capitalize all those things, and with that, you are less depending on people for the knowledge. And that is very important, because it was very difficult in our industry to capitalize from one project to another project. You always had to fill in forms or to make some papers, and people which are on site don't want to do that, because at the end of the project, they already are on another project. They don't have time to do that. And with this digital platform, and not only digital twin, you have the opportunity to capitalize the way we are working, and not only the building we are doing.
No, fantastic points. And so we've talked about digital platforms, and the word digital twin keeps coming up again and again and again. So what's the practical manifestation of those? What are you seeing in terms of the actual way of capturing and utilizing and doing something with this data? If we go to you, Dr. Jacques.
Prakash, it's a wonderful topic, digital twins, and it has been since around some few years now, and its true implementation is based on why do we do that, why the client is needing this, what is the client suffering from. And what we discovered through personal experience, and which we're leading one of the biggest projects here on digital twins, is that the data is the new currency, I would call it like this, of the construction industry. The more data you have, the better you manipulate it, the more knowledge you will have, the less interrupted operations you will have for the facility, and then you will have more customers, more clients, more passengers, whoever is dealing with the manufacture, with the building, happier and more comfortable. It's the process starts by creating this 3D model using the reality capturing techniques of the whatever facility, whatever building you are trying to model there. And then you start implementing it and twisting it and changing it to something more intelligent using the BIM solution, where you start injecting the attributes, you start injecting all the data in it, but it is not alive. It is only with it. You have to inject in it a soul. It has a DNA, but it's not living. This is where we want to connect it to all this Internet of Things, to all these sensoring systems in a secure way, so that when the readings come, we know exactly what, and we can predict what will go wrong, when, and how can we solve it. Now, how can we solve it is a big part, because everyone is suffering from it. If you have a pump that is not working anymore, in the old-fashioned way. You will send the image and you will send the characteristics of this one to the supplier, and then it will take ages to get this pump correctly received with the correct dimensions and all this. And if there is any problem, you will have to wait for 3 more months. So the way we're doing that is that we're also digitalizing this pump. We're creating the reality capture of this one so that we send it immediately to the contractor, to the supplier, so that they can do the simulation, they can run the what if the scenarios, they can model this. They can do also the threat modeling to see whether there is any security breach in the supply chain of this product, and then we receive it on time in the scale we want and the characteristics we want. We deploy it using our iPads, using our technological ways. This is the real complete workflow of digital twins. The most painful thing is the operation and maintenance, and the most costly thing. And this is why I'm saying data is the new currency, because the more you know, the better you treat it, the more projects you will have, the less operations it will be interrupted for the people and customer. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, no, excellent points there. And I think so. If I just quickly summarize this section, I think what everybody's talking about is the utilization of digital platforms to start breaking down some of the silos and cross collaborating between different parties, different stages within the project. And so to the betterment of the entire sort of delivered asset, right? Whether that's delivering the design or delivering the construction or delivering the effective operations. And all of these things are great and fantastic. So implementing these digital tools and tool sets that we've spoken about, how do you think that they're changing some of our competitive advantages or the value propositions we as traditional construction professionals are starting to deliver to our clients? So there's obviously going to be an impact, and we've seen how digital has changed the value proposition in other industries. Let's look at entertainment, you look at retail, you look at finance. As they've digitized, their business models have completely been disrupted. So I'm not sure who wants to go first on this one. Marie-Luce, do you want to give your opinions on this, about how our business models are going to be impacted and changed by digital?
Yes, I think all the other industries have seen that. So the construction industry will also see differences and evolutions in business model like that, because with this, it's the construction period and the execution phase is sometimes very complicated for our clients. It's not the easy part. You said, Jacques, that the maintenance and operation phase is really difficult, but the construction phase is also a big deal with the client. And all these technologies will help to have a better relationships with the client, to help to facilitate decisions between client and designers, because with virtual reality, for example, you can have a better idea of how you can, what is the impact of a modification, for example. And projects are really long sometimes, and the aim is to reduce the duration of the project and to reduce the impact of cost and quality. And digitalization will help to have faster, better, and cheaper project, which can have a real impact on the business after that.
I agree. As we move towards some of these things, Yolanda, that you mentioned in terms of modularization and prefabrication, and I think Keith mentioned that we democratize construction. We also start to commoditize construction. And there's a huge worry that as we commoditize construction, we start losing some of our ingenuity and innovation in another part, right? We're talking about innovation on one aspect and we're losing it on the things that we deliver. How do you think that, or how do we address and manage that risk?
Well, it's a bit of a tricky balance, to be honest, because, you know, we want to innovate. We want to be seen as the people who are innovative in terms of their solutions. At the same time, we want to hold on to, you know, all of the things that we, you know, have that huge pride in as an industry. Very, very, very tricky. But in my view, you know, there are two things that are right at the heart of current conversations. One of them is price fixity for the client. The client wants to know what the price is and be fixed on that price very early on, right? So our margins aren't great as an industry. So if we can really, you know, leverage technology to be able to give the price fixity that we absolutely need for ourselves and for our clients, I say, yay, bring on the technology. The other one is net zero carbon targets. You know, in the UK, for example, there's a big, massive push. The question is, you know, how would we be able to understand every single component and the implication of every single component in terms of materials, in terms of our supply chain as well, you know, if we don't digitize. Our industry is very process driven. You know, it's hugely dependent on supply chain. You know, if we can't track where our, you know, products are coming from, you know, the materials that are being used, if we can't get our supply chain to buy into, you know, what we set ourselves, you know, based on a platform, a digitized platform that everybody can see, that's transparent, you know, it makes it even more difficult to get to where we want to get to.
And I agree. I think we've got lots of challenges, right? And some of those you just spoke about. But Keith, as we become more and more digitized in all aspects across all the life cycle of what we deliver and how we deliver, we're becoming more digital data rich. I think we've always been data rich, just that data was probably sitting on papers rather than in a digital form. But as we become digital data rich, we start becoming targets for bad actors. And I think the whole cybersecurity piece is something that we don't talk about enough, and it's not very, very well understood in our industry. I think from the business perspective, in terms of email compromises and that, we have IT departments who are cross-collaborating and working these things out. But from an operational technology, where we're delivering our technology on our projects, how are we dealing with or assessing the risk of cyber threats there?
Yeah, I think that the risk of the cybersecurity, I think that the risk of a cybersecurity breach on the operational technology is something that's really undervalued by the whole industry, whether it's our clients, whether it's us, whether it's our suppliers. And I think that really what it comes down to is, as we take this next step into the wireless cloud-based solutions, we're opening ourselves up for a risk of a safety incident or some kind of an event that could really cause harm, one, you know, to personal harm or to the facility or to the environment. And I think that, you know, having the ability, you know, through the digital twin to understand how our facilities are supposed to be running, how is our building supposed to be running, and if there's something that comes up, a fire alarm or a pump that's malfunctioning or something like that, how do we understand if that's a real malfunction or if that could be somebody that's hacked into the system that's causing that? You know, if you think about a large industrial facility, for instance, if there's something that's running on high pressure or high temperature, there's measures that have to be taken, and an entire facility could come down, and that could have, you know, ramifications from a safety perspective. So something small, just like a temperature gauge or something like that, could cause significant problems. So I think that being able to really understand how a facility is supposed to operate, what happens if certain parameters happen, what are those reactions down the line that we can use machine learning, AI, and other emerging technologies to really focus on and really eliminate, you know, the need for, okay, if something happens, we immediately go into this room, or we immediately go into this shutdown operation or whatever it is. I think that it's really important for us to understand that we will be targets. There's safety involved. We need to protect ourselves. and we need to take measures in order to understand how to do that. And so I think that it's something that's separate from IT. Information technology is definitely different from OT, but they're converging at a very rapid pace.
Yeah, and I guess it's excellent that we can have conversations like this on platforms and forums like this to start raising some of the awareness for this. And Dr. Jack, similar type of question. What are you seeing from both the design and during construction, from now starting to include the cybersecurity risk as part of the security assessments of the way that we design and deliver?
Yeah. This is a serious topic, and we're facing it. We're living with it. It starts with the sensor readings that the security can be a security breach can affect it entirely. The weak chain in reading these sensor readings is not the sensor itself, is the complete chain, is the complete circuit, I would call it like this, starting with the gateways, starting with the microcontrollers that are inside these sensing systems, which anyone with hacking experience can go on site and hack them. Imagine you are in a big site, you have the crane that is, someone start to play with it, going all directions. So we have seen also some tragedies happening, not specifically because of hacking, but because of sensor readings which were erroneous. Like we take the example of deep sea horizon of the oil and gas industry, which is much more critical than we're talking about construction sites on land. Let's say it. Of course, everything is critical, but oil and gas vary. So when the sensor readings were wrong, which could be hacking, for instance, in some of the cases, it caused a tragedy and more than 11 people died. So this is what we're going towards, is to secure this chain. The security of the chain, securing this chain can be using the latest technology of blockchain, which will allow to create a more decentralized system. So whenever a hacker will attack any kind of gateway or maybe microcontroller or anything, it can only affect this specific area and not the entire system, not the entire network. The damage will be much more controlled, much more concentrated, and we can focus on that area and search and work on it. Now, what we lack is, of course, is research and development in this area. We're very behind, I would call it like this, in terms of making sure that the security of these sensing systems and any supply chain that we are engaging is there. So yeah, this is a topic that everyone should put more effort on it and make it progress.
Fantastic. So we're getting close to the end. I'm just going to ask each one of you for 2021, which one, if you had to pick one technology which you think is going to now make the leap from being something that we consider to be emerging to becoming mainstream, what is that technology? So if you could pick one, which technology would you think in 2021 is now transition from being emerging to becoming the norm? We can start with you, Dr. Jack.
I want to see the digital twins being more standardized and with customized standards, because we don't have those. Everyone is working in his way, different directions, different standards. Every country has different way of working. Some people, they pretend to be implementing digital twins where they're just saying marketing, with all respect to everyone, of course. So this has to be more standardized, more ISO things on those, more tricks and tips, and to be more serious about implementing this technology. Of course, we understand the challenges that cultural, economic, technology, but this is the key to make the construction industry grow further and get more into the big data later on, and of course making these algorithms, these rules, that we're making more intelligence about this data.
Yeah, fantastic. Keith, same question.
Yeah, I mean, I have to agree that the digital twin is going to play a major role in 2021. I think that as we continue to move forward with IoT and all of the machine learning and all of the AI that we've been talking about for years and years and years, the digital twin is really the key cog that brings everything together, and it allows us to really manipulate the data, understand, do predictive analysis, implement the personnel, the people that we were talking about earlier, through video analytics and all of those things, and really understand, how are we doing on this project, but how do we make our next project better? And how do we continuously improve as we go five projects down the line. I think that's something that's really undersold, is the data that we're gaining here. It could be leveraged 10 years from now and really help us to improve and give us insights into what we did right, what we did wrong, and how do we deliver for our client, or how do we deliver for our clients and get that certainty of outcome that we discussed earlier.
Brilliant. I think there's a bit of a trend emerging here. Marie-Luce, same question to you.
I must say, I agree with Jacques and Keith. Yes, I think, yes, digital twin is very important and will be for, I hope, for 2021, a very important thing for us, but not only digital twin, digital platform for digital project management, which is very important for me. Not only what we build, but also the way we are building it. And all the other technology will be integrated in that, the IoT, and then with the data, you can have machine learning. The second part is for me, the cyber security, because it's very important. And if you are digitalizing that, it's very important for 2021, that the understanding of the impact of that the managers of the company are learning something about IT, about digitalization, and about security by design, zero trust approach, and so on. Because now, with digitalization, it's part of the skills of a manager to understand the risk and opportunity of that. And I think that we have a big challenge for upscaling all the staff with these types of technologies.
Excellent, thank you. And Yawanda, same question to you.
I was gonna say I agree with everybody, but I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I think for me it'd have to be the platforms that enable people to be able to share ideas, manage ideas. That there's a whole raft of different types of engagement, including engaging with clients as well, including coming up with very, very specific solutions to problems either on site or in the factory. And sometimes it's this insider knowledge that that it just proves invaluable time and time again. So I would say a place where people can come, share ideas, and just pretty much make magic, literally.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Look, thank you all so much for your insights and participating so gamefully in this conversation. I really, really appreciate it. Just to wrap up then, I think that we managed to only talk about COVID for a small percentage, and we only mentioned BIM once, right? So I think that's a massive achievement for us. Clearly, the trend is going towards digital twins, and this is something that we're constantly hearing from our clients, and we're constantly hearing from the market. And so digital twins, I think, are going to be the big sort of trend for 2021. And the risks that come around that, around cybersecurity. But also we talked about platforms. I completely agree. I think having platforms to help us deliver, manage the data, and manage people is going to be absolutely key to the way that we successfully deliver going forward. So once again, thank you very much for my fellow panelists, and we'll draw this panel to a close there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And what a very lively discussion there. What a great conversation, really looking at construction and infrastructure and really looking at new applications of technology and the endless possibilities that are out there for everybody in this industry. A big thanks there, Prakash. Thank you so much. Really well moderated. And again, a big thanks to Dr. Jacques, Yawanda, to Keith, Churchill, and Marie-Luce. Both Marie-Luce and Keith can't stay with us for the Q&A, but we're very, very happy to have the other three of you, so I'm delighted you're with us here. Yawanda, I want to start with you because you actually dared to put construction and innovation and almost what we've been hearing over the last few days are words like creativity, holistic thinking, as you say, maybe language that's not necessarily associated with a very conservative industry in many ways. But at the same time, the demands are there. I think everybody is talking about what has to be done. So a shift in mindset, perhaps, and a shift in maybe realizing the tremendous creativity that's within this business. What do you think?
Absolutely. You are right. You know, those are not words that we associate with each other. But you know what? Engineers and, designers are the sculptors of our built environment. And in so many ways, they create the wonderful experiences that we have, whether we're going through airports or, engaging with incredible water parks and hotels and, basic buildings like hospitals and schools, for example. And it's really realizing as well that we're seeing a very different breed of engineers come into industry. The students who come in want to be technologists as well as engineers. They want to be able to bring the art into engineering. And I think the industry has to take that risk, has to step out and say, where can we have that platform that brings in the art, the creativity, as well as the technology? I think this is extremely exciting. It's certainly something I hope I can enjoy for the most part of my career as well. And I hope it will transform how we respond to construction projects as well.
And I think you're so right. And indeed, throughout the last 4 days, I mean, we're looking at magnificent projects that have been put in place and the great work, the creative work that architects are doing. And again, very, very innovative ways of doing business. Dr. Jacques, I'd like to bring you in on this too. And when you think, what could make this industry easier? Is it that we're constantly sort of reinventing the wheel? Do we need a concept of perhaps standardization that would actually let us, get the basics in place and then perhaps get on with being even more creative in this industry? What do you think?
Exactly. This is exactly what we need, is that we have all the tools that we need, where the technology has made a large progress actually in the construction industry. And this technology is being used from other industries like aerospace, that the first they have been using digital twins and everything reality capturing and also augmented reality. What we lack is the marrying between these different technologies and to optimize and streamline the way they work and cooperate between each other so that we can make the best output from them. So this is why in the UAE, let's take an example, we have created sort of initiative with the Society of Engineers, which has tens of thousands of people, which in the digital engineering chapter led by Dr. Saeed Dahiri. So what we're doing is we're standardizing the different standards that we have, we're customizing them, we are innovating, we're creating research and development programs across universities, academies, and also with collaboration with companies so that we can at least streamline these way of working by the government, and then because they're on the top of the pyramid, and then that goes down to the different stakeholders, different consultants, and then to the contractors so that we can make the best profit of this technology. Really standardization, custom standardization of the tools of the technology for the different countries, for the construction industry, and also marrying, taking technologies from other sectors and injecting them into the construction industry. This is what will make the construction going from maybe just before the last one in digitalization to on top of the top 5.
Because also stay with me on this one a moment, Dr. Jacques. These are not the competitive advantages, right? I mean, these are areas that everybody has to do, and it's health and safety, and it's all of the fundamentals in many ways. It's up to developers then and architects and designers. They have plenty of ways to distinguish their competitive advantage above that, but we really should get this the fundamentals in place. Is that what I'm hearing from you, Dr. Jacques?
Exactly, and the big challenge is not only technological, and of course streamlining this is important, but this is a cultural problem. This is also financial problem. So companies nowadays, especially in this kind of period, which is very difficult, they suffer lack of funds, and maybe they don't have the time. If we want them to invest into changing the way of working, the culture they are working, they don't want that, because simply they're focusing on what project we have, how can we get the best from it and still be profitable. So if you come and tell them, I want you to start moving to a new workflow, they will tell you, no, thank you. We were not hired for that one. We want to stay with the comfort zone that we are in. So this is the danger zone, is how to go outside the box, think in a different way, and make the best profit from this technology as well.
Yeah, indeed, there is resistance to change. And I think we find it in so many sectors, but
that's the hardest job, yes.
It is the hardest, but I think people are beginning to realize too, if that change isn't happening and if it's not happening quick enough, we see what happens to businesses that don't adapt. And I think people are learning that lesson. Prakash, if I can bring you in here and we look at the technology that's in place and we also look at the data that's been collected in this industry. I mean, for so many years, but perhaps the industry didn't do enough of that data and maybe didn't know how to use it to its advantage. Talk to us about the, the data analytics and the sophistication that we now actually have, and really, the artificial intelligence that's there. I mean, it's a new world out there when it comes to data collection and use of that data to actually build better projects.
Certainly. I think if we look at some of the most valuable organizations in the world at the moment, all of them have one thing in common. They've worked out how to monetize and profit from data, right? You look at the Googles and the Amazons and the Facebooks of the world. It doesn't matter what industry that they're focusing on or what they're doing. What they've managed to do is actually monetize and put to use the data that they're collecting. And we as an industry, I think it's a bit of a fallacy to say that we haven't been collecting data. We've been collecting data for a long, long time. It's just that data hasn't been digitized. And over the last maybe 5 to 7 years, as we've become more and more digitized, we're starting to have all of this access to all of this data. And now we're starting to see people doing some really, really interesting things with that data, like applying layers of machine learning and artificial intelligence over this data sets to start driving insights which we perhaps never knew or we would never have had access to. I'm working with organizations using machine learning to do things like improve the way that we interact with management systems, particularly around safety and quality. We're looking at organizations that are taking data which we're capturing on our projects to start analyzing when things might go wrong by looking at some of the semantic analysis of the communications that are happening on these things. So yeah, I think it's a brave new world, and we're only going to be better for it.
Yolanda, when we look at the digital twin and the concept of this, and it's been rolled out in many industries to great advantage, you actually say it's a massive business asset for the construction industry too. And I suppose it's about being able to do so much in that space and then to roll something better out and something more efficient and hopefully just all around a better project, because we've had the advantages, I suppose, of working with this in a digital environment. Where are you seeing that really pay off?
Well, I see, first of all, I see as, the crown jewels of any business, really. I see it as, really right at the heart of what is a very process-driven industry. An industry that relies on supply chain, an industry that relies on, third-party contractors to come together to deliver this crown jewel, right? And transform it from that digital twin to the actual project, at the actual building, the mortar and the steel and the brick and everything else that comes together to finish it. Where I see it going is continuing to play a big part in driving the efficiency that the industry needs to see. We need to see our third-party, relationships improve. We need to see people come onto the same page as us, in terms of managing data correctly, protecting the crown jewels. Just as Prakash was saying, it's something we don't want to lose, realizing that it plays a big, massive part in our business model as well. Making sure, we have the right technology and even insurance to make sure we never lose this data. Because if we lose it, we're losing a big, massive part of our business asset. So it's bringing that to the forefront, appreciating it for what it is, and then ensuring that everybody we work with as part of the delivery team understand the importance of working with this piece of information, evolving it if it needs to evolve, and protecting it as much as possible.
Dr. Jacques, do you see this really demanding a new mindset as well? Because we've heard a lot over the last 4 days about partnership and about collaboration. And certainly without a doubt, I think many people looking around this industry and beginning to see it happen. But in many ways, you know, I think if we look at the construction industry, it's a very conservative industry. We could possibly be accused of working in silos and, you know, everybody keeping their information to themselves. Does it really demand a mindset shift? What do you think?
Many of the challenges that we're facing across the industry, and not in design and even contractor, is that the trades are working separately. So whenever we are talking about the building, you have different trades, mechanical, electrical, and so on. Everyone wants in some areas, of course, to take responsibility. In some of the other areas, they want to put it on another trade, which is time consuming, which is taking out responsibility, and first of all, on who will be the liability. The same problem also exists if on a macro view. So if we go outside these trades, we look at the different collaborators on the market. Let's say you have the designers, the contractors, you have the different suppliers. Same story happens again, but on a macro scale. So we have the supplier wants to deliver, and then you will not hear of them again. The contractor will do the same with the designers, and so on. What is really lacking is that this sense of teamwork, and I would call it a less facing guilty if there is anything wrong, if it is not critical, of course, but think it in a way that this is a project that will unite everyone, because the building at the end you're constructing, it's a combination of everyone. So there cannot be a way that someone will not be held liable or not responsible. So this is where I think the problem is that whenever the project is placed, and this is where technology will help, is that whenever the problem is facing everyone, I think everyone should cooperate closely by sharing the information cooperatively and not reactively, and maybe predictively as well, by using the file management solutions that are being digitalized, and we have many of them on the market, ProjectWise, other software on the market. It depends on whatever the supplier is. So this will make people get closer to each other, collaborate more, faster, and being more transparent. Transparent is a key problem in this industry. And also liability. This is a big word that everyone fears of, and this is something that if we take it sharely, and maybe across everyone, like in the electronic industry, like in the defense industry, there's no such word that has significant meaning and that amount of weight on everyone's person. So this is where the key problem is. This is how I see it, actually.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I'm hearing that over the last few days too, the challenges that are there. And again, but some companies are moving beyond them and actually getting it right. Prakash, talk to me a little bit about, and I've sort of two questions in one here. Is modular construction the next big thing of the future? You know, we want to see individuality there. You know, Dr. Jacques said we need an element of standardization, but at the same time, we also, you know, we need new buildings, and we need beauty, and we need creativity. But talk to me about 3D printing and how that's going to influence construction as well.
Sure. So I think modularization, people often talk about it as an innovation. It's actually been around for a very, very long time. And it sort of fell out of favor. It's got a bit of a bad reputation because of like post-war construction. It was done quickly and cheaply, and it sort of got a really bad rep. But I think that it's now starting to change as I guess those generations and the memory starts getting old. What we're seeing now is more and more use of modularization, and particularly off-site manufacturing. And I think it's definitely got to be part of the mix. If we're going to make these strides in productivity that we clearly need to do as an industry and start changing some of our value drivers and business models, prefabrication and off-site manufacturing is going to play a big part. And I'm seeing this all over, particularly when we're talking to startups and young companies. The number of the amount of investment that's going into this particular portion of construction is huge. And I think that the digitization of that has also helped, you know, being able to digitize the complete sort of manufacturing process, and be the likes of building information modeling, and being able to make decisions very early on and coordinate everything really, really well, helps to then be able to manufacture it and then assemble it very, very, very quickly. Now, 3D printing, I think, is still very nascent, and it's going to take a while before it finds its sort of product market fit, if you like. But that's another exciting area where probably put together with prefabrication can allow some of this customizability, that we're talking about. So you have standard modules like you have in a car. People often cite this as an example. The cars that you buy are actually made up of a fixed number of components, but then you customize them by choosing the color, you choose the different wheel sizes, you choose the entertainment system inside, and you get a bit of customization and individuality. And similar to that, I think you take the prefabrication elements and some of them would be standardized, maybe the things in the background, the things that you don't see, and then you get a level of customization that sits over the top. And certainly introducing 3D printing there helps to keep the costs of mass manufacture, but having mass customization at the same time.
And on that level, it definitely makes sense. We're going to have to wrap this up here, but yeah, Yolanda, I'm coming to you for that last message of inspiration here. I mean, as you said, that COVID turned into the chief innovation officer. So now that we've had a bit of a wake-up call, we can't lose that momentum. And when we look at this industry, it's going to go on, and it's going to change, and we have a huge future ahead of us that everybody has to plan for, and more than anything else, be ready for. What do you say to the industry they need to do to make sure they're future-proof?
I'd say we need to take risk. If we are going to be the change that we want to see, we really have to put ourselves out there, and we need to understand our responsibility in ensuring that we are designing a sustainable planet. It really goes without saying that we have a big, massive role to play there. And we also need to become more diverse in terms of gender, in terms of the variety of thinking that we bring to our projects. Without a doubt, we are the sculptors of our built environment.
And there's so much to do and so much that can be done, so much being done. So that's the optimism on it, but we really have to step it up. I want to thank you all so much, and to Marie-Luce, who went before, and Keith also for being part of the panel. But Yolanda, thank you so much for your great words of inspiration and optimism there. And also to Dr. Jacques, thanks for being with us. And to Prakash, thank you so much for moderating that panel. It's really been great. And it's a great way as we're slowly coming to the close of this Big 5 Digital Festival. Thank you all so much.